We are live. Um, so I just wanted to talk about closing costs, and I have the closest thing I have to an office right now, so I don't hear my kids screaming upstairs. So if there's a child or a dog walks into the video, my apologies in advance. Um, I just wanted to talk about closing costs because so often they're not factored in, and the two homes that I purchased and gone through this process, getting mortgages, and appraisals and inspections. Both times I went into that process, even after being a real estate agent, completely and 100% blind as to how big of a check that I was going to have to write. And everybody, typically a buyer, especially if they're just starting and they haven't done this before, because we do this so rarely, we don't factor these things in. We don't take all of the costs into account. And then it's a little bit of a surprise at the end when I have to write a check much bigger than just my down payment. Um, that sucks. And what I'm hoping to do is be able to help people avoid going into that process blind. And again, in New York specifically, most of the purchase of the apartments on sale are co-ops. Most people can, if they're looking to buy an apartment, are looking at a co-op in the first place. Just starting out with that in what closing costs are, or the check that you're gonna have to write at the end of this entire process. And I see a child, so we're gonna see if she interrupts. In New York, in the 5 boroughs, typically the initial down payment just to move into a home is gonna be 20%. That's gonna be the main barrier of entry. Is coming up with a 20% down payment. And most apartments are going to require that 20% down payment on top of cash set aside after closing to make sure that you can fulfill your obligations. There she is. Fulfill the obligations that you have to pay your mortgage and maintenance payments. So you're going to have a 20% down payment to start. You're also going to have 12 to 24 months of cash set aside just to move forward with the board. Okay, these are a little bit more common. These are a little bit more understood, and most people kind of know that that's coming. So 20% down payment, another 12 to 24 months of money set aside. Okay, what the numbers that most people don't consider are for co-ops. There's going to be about 4 costs. One of them is going to be your attorney's fees, and you're looking at $1,500 to $3,500, even up to $5,000 just to get you through the process. I have an attorney that I love. His name is Ian Henderson. I've worked with him almost on every deal that I've done. That if I have a client that suggests it, and he's costs about $1,500, and his number doesn't change. He's amazing. He's easy to get a hold of. He manages the process. He checks in with the client. He's awesome. So you have those attorney's fees, and the attorney's fees are going to be $1,500 plus. Okay, so that's one cost that most people don't factor in. So you've got down payments. You have liquid assets after closing. Those need to be in cash typically, or at least accessible. You can easily write a check is really what that means. And then you have attorney's fees. You're going to have to pay also for the bank's attorney's fees if you're going to get a mortgage. So again, another cost is going to be $1,500 to $3,000 plus, on top of down payment and everything that I've said up until this point. Another cost you're going to have to cover if you're paying over $1 million for an apartment or a home or anything in the 5 boroughs, you're going to have to pay mansion taxes. Now, off the top of my head, I don't remember the percentage. Just last year, they went up, and the Albany is always trying to push that number higher. They're always going to try and squeeze more money out of every deal that they have by charging a larger mansion tax. So the mansion tax over $1 million slowly steps up, if I remember correctly, at every level. So the more expensive the house, the higher the mansion tax. Again, this is something that most people don't factor in. Now, if you've bought an apartment already, this is not news to you. The mansion tax has been in place for a long time. If you're upgrading from a $500,000 apartment or $600,000 apartment, or you bought long before your apartment was ever worth $1 million, and you're now ready to upgrade to a larger place, more bedrooms, different neighborhood. Now you have to figure out what your mansion tax is going to cost, because that is a humongous cost relative to the attorney's fees. So that's 3 or 4, whatever the number is. The last, and also again a big surprise, and every building can be so different because every co-op is run by a different management company, a different board. Some people are trying to lower costs, other people are really trying to just make sure and make it cost prohibitive to move in. The last cost is just other, and that can mean appraisal fees with the bank. If you're getting an appraisal, if you're getting a mortgage, you're going to need to get an appraisal. If you're buying a house, you're going to have to get an inspection. An inspection can cost $1,000. It can cost $500, depending upon the city and the neighborhood. So you're getting appraisals, you're getting inspections. You might need to get a survey if you're buying a home. For the co-op, the primary costs are going to be application fees. The primary costs are going to be move-in deposits, right? And the move-in deposits can be high. They can be $2,000. They can be $500. You're also move-in fees, same thing, $500, $2,000, depends on the building. Application fees, as if you were a tenant, right? They're going to have to run credit, background checks, those types of things. So those costs can be upwards. They can be $4,000 or $5,000. So again, keep your eyes wide open. It's not to deter anybody from buying. If you're going to buy for the emotional reasons and the emotional security of owning a home, that is amazing. I don't want to deter anybody from doing that. It's knowing that your 20% down payment isn't going to cut it. Your 20% plus the 12 to 24 months mortgage and maintenance is also not going to cut it. You're going to have to pay a little bit more. So these extra costs can be upwards of 2, 3 to 5% of the total purchase price. And you could add 18 to 20% just to your down payment, if that makes sense. So if you have a down payment of $200,000, for instance, you could add, again, a little bit more. You're going to have to come up with a little bit more just to get the process moving and get it started. What's great for the co-op buyer, and condo fees are very similar. There are 2 specific costs that make a big difference that you have to factor in, and I'll get to that in a separate video to keep this brief. Those costs are going to be, you're going to need to write the check up front. And what's great about you being a buyer is it's typical in New York City that the seller pays the brokers. So your broker's assistant, your real estate agent's help is 100% free on your end. Don't think, and I'll put a caveat to all of this, don't think because you're going to go directly to the seller that you're going to get a deal. You're not. That money that the seller is going to save by paying just one broker or one agent is going to go back into their own pocket. It's not coming to yours. I've had clients, people I know, that will avoid using an agent to do a transaction thinking that they're going to get the 2 to 2.5% discount on the apartment, but the person that has an agent is going to come in and offer the same amount. Like, you've got a little bit of wiggle room. Maybe you'll get lucky and go directly to the buyer, or directly to the seller, and save you a little bit of money, but it's not going to happen. The market dictates what the final price is, but that's a tangent. That's for another day. So down payment, liquid assets after you close, you're going to have the 12 to 24 months. You're going to need to pay your own attorney's fee. You'll need to pay for the bank's attorney's fee. You'll have other costs, move in, move out, deposits, application fees, appraisals, those types of things. And then you're going to have possibly a mansion tax if you pay over $1 million. That's it. It's not to deter anybody. It's to really help you budget, and so that you're not surprised. Before I really did a lot of studying and reading, if somebody asked me that question as far as the closing costs was concerned, I'd be like, yeah, most of the closing costs are going to come from your mortgage banker. Get that from him. But I've had to I want to make sure that I'm informed, and informing myself. This is the list that I've come up with. A lot of the closing costs do come from your mortgage broker, and agents don't know the answer to this question, which is why I always refer to somebody else. Yeah, go ask him or ask your attorney. And the day before, or a certain period of time before you close, I think it's 72 hours, you're going to get a good faith estimate from your mortgage banker if you're getting a mortgage. And that good faith estimate is going to lay out every last detail of every closing cost that you're going to have to pay. And that's to make sure that the client is informed. That's to make sure that you have full disclosure of what is coming out of your pocket. And it'll have the entire number and everything that's included in that good faith estimate. Then you'll get on the final day or close to it another final disclosure of what you're going to pay. They should be very close, and there shouldn't be a big deviation from one to the other. I got all of those things. I said, yeah. I got other stuff I need to get done. I ignored them and didn't. It was a complete surprise again when I had to write the check. Wait, I what? Because I didn't pay attention to the good faith estimate that my mortgage banker gave me, and I got surprised. The larger the check hurt, thinking that I was coming in with 5% down and I had to write more than that. Other things, like, again, huge surprise. I had to pay in Jersey escrow payments. I had to pay 1 year of homeowner's insurance up front. Those are requirements by the bank, just to make sure that I have it for the first month. Then the bank starts to escrow a certain percentage of my mortgage payments to set aside to pay my taxes. If you're in New York, you've got to pay maintenance payments or you have an HOA fee. They're going to set that aside. They're going to set aside escrows up front for, I think, even possibly utility bills, those types of things. So I said all of that stuff before, and another big other cost are all of the escrows that you're going to have to pay. If you move in on the 15th of the month, you're going to have to pay maintenance from the 15th to the 31st or the 15th to the 30th. That's another cost that's going to come out of your pocket. You think you're coming to the table with 20% down. You've got to pay 20% down, plus you've got to write a check for maintenance for the first month or for the first 15 days that you're in. It's going to be prorated. Same thing goes with your insurance, your mortgage insurance, or your property insurance. You'll have to pay utility bills and all of those things moving forward. Keep that in mind. That's all I have for today. If you have questions or you know somebody, even if they're not in New York, these rules apply. If you know someone that is looking to buy, one, they can ask me any questions they ever need. Two, forward this along so that they have full disclosure. They know what's coming. That's it. Rock out.